Just wish that they had that life. And it's fun, and it's glamorous, but you don't get to spend time at home. You know, I walk down the street and I see a family, you know, just doing their vacation, or I see a little girl with their mother, and I sometimes envy that because it's something that I don't have. I'm on the road constantly, on an airplane, like 70% of my life. And I live in hotel rooms, constantly having to pack and unpack. It's not glamorous to travel all over the world, but once you get to the destination and you go on, it's all worth it. As for up-and-coming DJs, I think it's extremely hard to jump in because everyone's a DJ now. There's so many people trying to be a DJ that you're a number. When I started DJing, it was about 14 years ago, and there weren't a lot of parties happening. You weren't getting paid hardly anything. The clubs were small, and I grew up on that. And by the time my skills were up to what I thought was, acceptable to play to a big crowd, that's when it started becoming big. So it was a lot easier for me than I would say someone now. For someone now, I would suggest you can have your mentors, you could have the people you look up to, but if you look up to somebody too much, I think that you're gonna end up sounding like them, and it's already been done. People treat you the way you treat yourself, and just find your own style that you believe in. Don't do it just because you're trying to find a new style, and go with it, and be confident, and treat yourself like a superstar, because that's the way people will see you then. It's kind of like playing the game, but have the skills to back yourself up.
Are these heat?
What the fuck?
Are these heat?
Oh, God.
Right.
I mean, that's not right. Do you really think that that's the right way to treat your mother?
Ah!
I didn't start off thinking I was going to be doing this, and I'd have 2 stores and running labels and putting out CDs. But I just, kind of got slipped into things and decided this is really cool. I really love this, and I went out and wanted to do it. I like to see people push the envelope. I'm not really as impressed by someone who plays big records with big snare rolls and they raise their hands in the air, they're the shit, me, look at me, me! And then the next record comes on, me! And then that's it. Like, you didn't do anything, I give you no credit. I like people who, tweak around with the mixer and bring effects or whatever, or play interesting music and mix interesting music together and stuff like that. I like to do things like create my own build-ups, and I'll play some tribal thing on top of a vocal record that someone might recognize, and then I'll have the tribal thing going. I'll make the tribal thing get real MIDI and real loud, and then no kick it off for like 4 minutes. But there's an acapella going, and people know in a club, and they rock it. Oh yeah, I like that song, and then boom, pop some bass in. It's like, whoa, it sounds great on a thundering system. It's really fun. And I take it as a compliment. Some people have come up to me at times and said, what kind of music, what do you call this stuff? I don't want to, it's not house, it's not trance, it's not techno, what is this? And I'm like, that's perfect, because I don't want to be anything. I play party rock and shit. I want to play everything from house, disco house, to techno, to full-on techno, to tech house. Like everything on the way up. I like to go on the way up, I like to come down, I like to play tribal. I like all those genres, but I don't want to be pigeonholed as the guy who comes to your club and plays house for 2 hours and, okay, the BPM's 128, never changes. That's not really fun. I don't want to be the guy who comes and fucking scares you. But I'll trick you, and I'll bring you to the dance floor with some nice Latin-y stuff, get all the girls out, and next thing you know, I'm beating the shit out of everybody with some hard shit, and they're like, whoa, wow, this is great. And they're all sweating, It's so funny. You see, real clean, nice people, and they're out there like, oh, God, what is this? It's a whole big race now because it's very popular, it's been popular for a long time, but it's even more popular now. So it's great and accepted, but it's also more competitive. So you need to set yourself apart. As I said, there are a million good DJs out there. What makes people want to hire one DJ over another DJ is that people are going to want to general people are going to want to come hear one or the other. They're not going to hear Guy Smiley, but they're going to want to hear Richie Hawtin. But Guy Smiley might be better than Richie Hawtin, but it doesn't matter because he's not Richie Hawtin, or she's not Richie Hawtin. They want to hear Richie Hawtin. You only and always go as fast as you pedal. So you're just going. If you're going to go fast, you're going to go fast. If you're going to go slow, you're going to go slow. No one's going to speed you up. No one's going to push you. You have to do it all yourself. So you need to reach the promoters, the club owners, find out who's doing what, and give them tapes all the time. Give them 3, 4, 5 tapes. And don't even push them so much to ask to play. But they'll ask you, you can remind them, hey, I give you a tape, do you like it? But don't be real pushy, like, hey, you want to get a book me? You want to get, like, easy. That's unattractive and unappealing. But they have your information, they like your tape, they're going to call you. So you just keep on it and don't be discouraged and give it out to your friends and just try and create a little buzz in your community, in your network by throwing your own parties or DJing at your own parties or opening up for other friends, and then when you open up, give away your tapes. And next time you're at a party, you'd be surprised. When you throw out free shit to the crowd, they go crazy. And you'd be surprised. People are like, oh yeah, you gave me a tape a year ago. I love it, blah, blah, blah. And I tell you what, even if you don't have gigs and you're not making money off this and you're not playing enough, it's the most wonderful feeling even just to see people who say, yeah, I love your tape. I love what you did. I love the music. I loved your set. It was really fun. And you'll find gratification in that. And then soon, eventually, you can hopefully turn it into a living. Meanwhile, you'll keep pushing papers. And on the weekends, you'll do your DJing and still throw out more free tapes,
I basically, started out by just, playing in clubs in the DC area, and met Sharon, my partner, through a mutual friend, and he was the resident of another club, and I didn't have any sort of residencies in DC, so we kind of hit it off when we played together that first time. Him being more commercial and me being more underground, it made for an interesting night, an interesting mix of styles. So that led to us deciding to eventually work together in the studio. A lot of DJs these days use a lot of technology in the DJ booth. We tend to just use vinyl in our CDs. I mean, we throw in acapellas here and there, but we tend to just really focus on the programming and having it sort of tell a story, as cliche as that sounds. When we play, we're always sort of physically manipulating, because there are a lot of songs that are, either through the fault of the sequencer that the producer originally used, there's some timing glitches, or, if they've done edits after the fact, they may have not done good edits. So, the beat tends to go off from time to time. So you do tend to, we do tend to ride the mix for quite a while because we do like to mix for long periods of time. Sometimes, usually when we play festivals, we tend to do the 4 turntable 2 DJ thing, just because it makes it more interesting and it makes for sort of a performance. But when we, normally play out, we tend to switch off depending on how long we have, 2-3 hours a piece. Being involved with someone who's completely different than me, we tend to get into arguments quite a bit. And one of the most interesting arguments we've sort of had, me and my partner, was in the DJ booth at Pasha in Ibiza. And the DJ booth is sort of right there on the floor, among hundreds and thousands of onlookers. And we got into a shoving match that ended with the needle getting thrown off the record and all heads turning towards the DJ booth. So that was a pretty interesting experience, and a lot of the press had a field day with that and sort of claimed that we were splitting up, which was funny because we argue like that all the time, just not in public. A lot of DJs ask us what they can do to get gigs, and the easiest answer I could give them, and probably the one that will work the best for them, is they need to produce music, they need to do remixes, and they need to make sure they do a good enough job that people take notice, fans take notice, promoters take notice. They need to basically do such great work that all the major A-list sort of DJs are playing their music, and their name will start to sort of circulate in the industry, and eventually they'll start getting calls to get gigs. I have a lot of friends who only produce. They're not DJs, but they've sort of been thrown into the DJing limelight as a result of their steady productions. Just try to be different. It's okay to be influenced and to look up to the people that you admire, you know, the Sashas, the Digweeds, the Teneglias, but realize that they sort of carved their own path, you know, from the get-go, and they were influenced by a wide variety of styles, but they, you know, took that influence in and created something unique to them, and the only way you're going to stand out and get noticed is if you create your own unique path.
When I first started DJing, I was 16, so I couldn't actually play in clubs because I was too young to even get in them, let alone play in them. The way around it was for me to do my own parties, basically. I did illegal parties underneath motorway bridges, in derelict houses. I mean, you name it, we did parties everywhere. I mean, and I got caught so many times doing them. And the last time I got caught, the last time I did an illegal party, the police threatened me with all kinds of things. You know, it got to the point where I was having 500 or 600 people turn up. They became legendary in Birmingham, where I live. You know, the tunnel party is what it was called, these underneath a motorway bridge. Both ends of the bridge blacked off with big black dust sheets, generator running, some lights, some camo netting, and then just some big speakers, you know. But it worked really well, and from doing that, other DJs asked me to play for them at their clubs. For me, there's two types of music, good and bad. So, I mean, if I play a long set, it'll range from, you know, deep house through to vocal records, tribal, tech house, techno, progressive. You know, I'll go for a lot of different genres, but there's a similar sort of essence to all the records. There's a sound that I keep, something that I like, basically, which a lot of the records have in common. There's nothing better than getting an exclusive track, and it's amazing. You know, you're really proud when you play it. It's great, and everyone comes to ask you what it is, and then you feel a bit of a schmuck when you got to tell them you're not going to be able to get it for another 4 months or whatever. But it is great playing music that no one else has got, because obviously it makes your set more unique. But I don't always cut them onto dub plates now, because I get that many records up front and re-edits sent through now that it would cost an absolute fortune to get them all pressed onto dub plate. Whenever a track goes into a main break and there's something in that break, like a high-pitched noise of some kind, of siren or a white noise effect, I usually really tweak the mid-range, almost to the point of it hurting people's ears. You know, it's really prominent, like really. And then as the bass comes back in, just drop it back out, and then you have a real impact point then. I think it's the most important thing, actually, to know your records. If you know your records, you know exactly how to mix that track, and you know exactly when to play that track. And that is really important, is when you play the record in the night. You know, you can make a particular record sound so different by playing it in between two other records. Listen to it. Listen to the whole record properly 5 or 6 times, and then you'll know it. The only advice I would give is just really think about what you're doing and try and do something a little different, be a bit unique, and then just give a lot of CDs out. Give them to DJs, because DJs are always looking for good support DJs, you know, so give them to club promoters, just give it out. Don't hassle people by phoning up every week, but if they like it, they'll phone you, you know, that's the way it is.
Well, we're musicians, and we make electronic music, and we take it live with us using basically like we take like it's like a full-on studio on stage without the recording equipment. Right. There's no preview before we send it out, is there? No, everything just happens in real time. You know, it's like I might, you know, I do the arranging on the sequencers and he does the mixing. That's generally what we do, and then we both manipulate synthesizers and effects. You know, he does more effects and I do lots of knob twiddling over here, but then he does the 303, you know, things like that. We've sort of got our little jobs on stage, but when I'm about to bring in a big breakbeat or something, if it's too loud, it's too loud. If it's too quiet, he turns it up, and if it's too loud, you normally just leave it because it makes a different sort of effect. But there's no checking stuff really. No. I think equipment's developed in a way that is befitting sort of our skill as musicians. You know, where it was quite basic when we first started off, but so was our musicianship. And you know, as we've got better at music, the equipment's become sort of fantastic, hasn't it? And now it's gone beyond my wildest dreams of the abilities that you can do. You can build your own synthesizers in a laptop while sitting in a park on a sunny day, you know, as long as you can see your screen.
So we've got a friend of ours that comes up with all the footage of certain tracks and stuff like that, so everything is specific to each track. But then we've got a bank of DVD players and a guy that's mixing it live the same as we're mixing it live. So, and the same with the lighting guy as well, who works out sort of lighting design to go with each individual tracks and stuff like that. So it's all, everybody's mixing on the fly, depending on how we're doing the song.
I don't worry about crashes and that, because in one respect, it shows you're human and you have problems like everyone else. Had a massive one in Dublin a couple of years ago. It was quite dramatic because everything froze and the MMT8 just crashed, and so every note that was gone at the time, which happened to be some particularly large analog bass notes, just went like this huge great throb, and everybody in the whole auditorium went yeah like that, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to burst your bubble because I've got to stop and load the MMT. You just wanted to carry on and come out of this point, but you know, it's just like the devil's cord being held in, you know. But no, you have to stop and say, sorry, got a technical problem, and everybody laughs or cheers again. You know, people are very good-natured, that's the thing. Our rehearsal time is normally the first sound check of a tour. We've spent about 2 months preparing it, and we're normally programming right. I mean, we've done tours where we've been programming up till 7 in the morning, then getting on a tour bus at 11 and going and sound checking at 4, and you're just knackered. And you just fly, you know, your adrenaline keeps you going, and you fly, and that's your first rehearsal. I'm normally writing out on my little bits of paper that I have to leave over my equipment, like 10 minutes before I go on stage, and then I normally have a great big double vodka and charge on and have done with it, you know. We don't tend to rehearse because, you know, it's like rehearsing what you're going to say to, you know, to someone in a conversation. It always comes out different anyway. So we just go at it and see, you know.
Right when I feel it's about to break into that, like, I guess so-called superstar mode, I'll just pull away from it and go underground again for 5-6 months and just do small parties and build up again, because I think once you hit the top, there's nowhere to go but all the way down to the bottom again, you know? Or you find yourself changing with every style of music that comes in, so it becomes something, it doesn't become about music anymore at that point, it becomes about your status, and that's really sad, actually. You know, I know a lot of the really top DJs who aren't very happy because, you know, their day includes press agents and makeup artists instead of like making music or playing music. The style of music I play is, God, I think it's more of a vibe than one particular style. I try to incorporate a lot of different types of music into it, from funk, disco, reggae, soul, techno, house, anything that I really like and feel. We used to do parties, but we'd have cassettes and one turntable, no mix or anything. It was just very ghetto, and like, you would stop every song, get the record off really quick, throw the next record on really quick, and kick it in there as quick as you could and get a woo out of the crowd if it was the right record. So it's really hard to keep a dance floor with one turntable, and to be able to do that, I think that really helped me out a lot more when mixing became a factor. Because if you're playing with one turntable, every record's got to count. It can't be like, you know, filler or just something that goes out in the abyss and does nothing, doesn't move at all. It's definitely science. I don't really rehearse sets or anything. It's all kind of going on the night and where that crowd is on that night, and to get them from where they are to where I want them to be, you know, type of thing. And it doesn't always work 100% of the time. Sometimes you get crowds that are used to hearing mainstream music or are just very accustomed to one thing only and get a little, you know, perturbed with me, to say the least. But, you know, it's supposed to be somewhat an art form, so there's very few artists left. A lot of people have just kind of gone with whatever people tell them they should do instead of doing what they want to do. Sometimes I find myself getting so lost in a groove that sometimes I'll just, when I come back, I'll notice there's like 3 decks playing and 2 CD players rolling as well. And it's not necessarily all drum beats and stuff. Some are vocals, wind sounds, what have you, EQ'd differently. 3 records can make 1 record if they're EQ'd right and they sound right, you know. If they're all in on full EQ, it gets a bit messy, but there's little subtleties, and you can cheat a lot too on the mix with the EQ thing. It just really depends on the groove you're in. If it's a deeper, smoother groove, I'll do the long mixes. If it's a more energetic thing, sometimes I'll pump it up a bit and do a lot of EQs. And when you think the record's been out for 3 minutes, all of a sudden you'll hear the vocal still in there, and you'll be like, oh God, you know. I have a few records I know that I call pressure point records that will either build up tension, smooth things out, bring it up to a fever pitch before I drop it really deep. It's all energy levels, and I call them pressure points, but there's certain points when you get a crowd tranced out a bit and you give it a little kick with the bass up, or you take the bass out and bring the highs and mids up, and it just becomes this mental energy. People start going absolutely, you know, crazy. I think once in Portland was the naked dancer thing. Everyone just started taking their clothes off, and it was just really mental. It was like 500 people, and there was 100 of them completely naked, just going completely bonkers to tribal music. And that was, I don't know if I was scared or intrigued. It was really amazing to see like people just lose all inhibition like that and just go for it. If you're starting out, I think you really should let you reflect your music and not let anyone dictate what you feel, and do it. And sometimes you're going to start off and it's not going to work from the beginning. It's going to take people a while to catch on because you're bringing something new to the table, which is good. But if you notice, the people who really make it in this thing are people who have done something or found a niche or done something different. It's not usually the people that copy people who are at the top already. I think a lot of people want it easy these days because they see a lot of guys drinking champagne in the VIP lounge, and you know that you'll figure out if you're really meant to do this or not, because I don't think it really is for everybody. Just like I don't think everyone should be a painter, you know, or write a movie script or write a book. But I really truly believe that people that really put their heart into it and really do it for a long time will get their chance. The sad thing is most of those people, when they do get their chance, get a bit of an ego because they've been waiting so long to get it. I think it's really keep it in check, or else I will never talk to you.
A lot of people say I play party music, so I don't know what that means, but I play all kinds of stuff. Whatever I like, I play. I don't care. I don't care what label it's on or what it's labeled as. I listened to like a lot of disco music as a kid, like 70s disco. I was pretty much influenced by my dad. My dad always, and he still does, he plays a lot of records. A lot of 70s disco and Motown and a lot of early 80s dance mixes. I was really influenced by him. He would keep me up all night listening to records. And I would go to school the next day with all those things embedded in my mind. All these records, you know, like Rumors, how do rumors get started? I'm fortunate enough to have started out right when all this stuff started going on. I was kind of a late bloomer as a DJ, so to speak, because I started out at Fever as a promoter. And I didn't start DJing until after we had started doing the party for about 2 years afterwards. I'm one of those DJs that plays for the people at the club. I don't play for myself. I know that the people are gonna like what I play, you know? I try to play for them. There's a lot of people who just wanna play for themselves and they wanna be sticklers to their genre and play all techno records all night. You know, I just like the crowd get bored with them after a little while, so I try to mix it up. EQing is something that I inherited from the early house DJs. When I used to go to clubs before I started DJing in the early 80s, all of the old house jocks used to, fool around with the EQ, and I realized that it was, to create excitement, a different element. You drop out the bass and then you put it back in, everyone freaks out. It's just something to get the crowd hyped up. And because of the time factor and because I'm on the road a lot, I really don't have a lot of time to play dub plates. If I have something I really like and I really want to play, then I will get it burned to a CD. A lot of bad situations over the years, but you know what? I'm actually kind of glad that I had a lot of things like that at the beginning, because it really helped me to be able to be prepared for any situation. Sometimes I'll come to a party and a DJ will say, "Oh, the monitor is really bad."